Good evening, everybody. This is honestly terrible circumstances. Um, as you can tell, my voice is kind of lost from the show last night. But my hope is that somebody that doesn't watch football might be able to see this and say a prayer for Damar Hamlin, the Buffalo Bills safety. I'm sure a lot of us, especially people that are football fans, were watching Monday Night Football tonight, the Buffalo Bills game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And tragically, within the first quarter, the Buffalo Bills young safety, a 24-year-old kid who was hugging his mother before the game. His mother's literally in the stands watching him play football, tackled a guy on the Bengals, a wide receiver, T. Higgins, just what it looked like a normal football tackle. And next thing you know, the guy gets up. Damar Hamlin, the Bills player, collapses. He's down on the field. They're giving him CPR. Literally, you can see the other players seriously concerned. And it's not a normal, okay, this guy's hurt, he's going to be all right injury. And they literally had to do CPR and get him in an ambulance, and he's in critical condition right now. And they canceled the Monday night game. But I just wanted to say, all of us should be praying for Damar Hamlin. And one thing I'll say is that I see the glory of God within situations like this, because it's amazing to see an entire football stadium that's there to watch a football game immediately transition into being empathetic, moral human beings, in the regard that everybody realized the game was secondary at that point, and there was no need for a football game at that point, because what was important was just how is Damar Hamlin, health wise. And I'll show everybody the picture of him. But I know at the time a lot of us prayed, and his teammates, surrounded him and prayed. But I did want to just speak on this, not only to ask for prayers for Damar Hamlin. If you guys are unfamiliar, this is how you spell his name. But this is his teammates, obviously, concerned. But more so just to point out that, God's will and God's nature is more in human beings than we realize. So despite this being a tragic incident, what it also showed me is it gave me hope in humanity. This is the young man, and it's really tragic that he's in critical condition right now. So it's important everybody prays, and that this is a situation where we can see, the Father and Jesus' will be done. And hopefully he escapes the snares of death, but also may the Father's will be done, and whatever is this man's fate, may it be the Father's will. But pray for his life, pray for his family, for his life, pray for all of us, to see him recover, because he's a 24-year-old kid who just went to play a football game, who's hugging his mother before the game. And nobody deserves to die like that, where they don't get to say goodbye to their loved one, especially when they're literally sitting there watching them play the game. I mean, for his mother to take the ambulance ride and have to be with her child, and who knows the condition he was in. They did CPR on him for like 9 minutes, so it was a very serious situation. Um, I just hope everybody realizes that this is a terrible tragedy, and what happens is we get to see that human beings do have God within their spirit a lot more than we understand, because I saw an entire stadium of human beings unified, which in most situations is near impossible for human beings to do. So we can't underestimate, like in Isaiah 6, where the seraphim say to Isaiah, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. It's ignorant or naive of us to not see it in these situations, because there's not people that aren't concerned with another human being in that situation. And I wish we could all live like this more often, and it didn't have to be in a moment where it was like an unexpected situation. Because at a football game, nobody expects anybody to get hurt, but in war or something like that, people assume people will get hurt, so the whole world doesn't pause or come together when one soldier dies in war. But it'd be nice if we did live in that type of world where that's what would occur, even in a situation that you know we do expect bad things to happen, but that would help us prevent those situations like war from occurring. um but yeah, I this isn't a long video. This isn't, I don't want to convolute this show with other topics. I obviously wasn't even gonna go live today because my voice is kind of worn out from the show yesterday. But I just want everybody to take a look at the picture of Damar Hamlin. Say a prayer tonight if you can. Ask Jesus and the Father to have mercy on his soul, have mercy on his mother, his family, and all his loved ones. I don't know if he has children or a wife or whatever his situation is there. But as far as we know now, he's at the hospital in critical condition. So if you guys want to check out his story, I'm sure it'll be all over the news. It's not just ESPN; it's on um, normal news. But yeah, I wanted to comment on it, not just because of asking for prayers for him, which is obviously the most important aspect of this. It's also to say we can see that we can come together in moments like this, and that speaks to God being a lot more around us than people want to, give it credit. But it only takes something like this for us to see that a football stadium filled with people, some people are Bills fans, some people are Bengals fans, but they, 60,000, whatever the stadium holds, and not just that, the millions of people watching on TV immediately unify and are all in one voice praying for this young man, which I hate that he has to be in that position. You know what I mean? No, none of us want to be the one that's in that position to bring out that, like I said, the moment of unity in this tragic moment. But at the same time, like I said, it was hard to ignore the overwhelming power of God, the Father, and Jesus in this circumstance, to see everybody knowing, this game can't be played. This is a huge game for NFL playoff circumstances. The Bills are the number one seed. If the Bengals beat them tonight, then the Bengals are then the 2 seed and can become the 1 seed if the Chiefs lose. Like, this was the biggest football game of the week, and one of the biggest games of the last month of the season. And we all know at times the NFL is a cold business where a player will get a concussion, wobble off the field, and the next play happens immediately and nobody blinks. But we saw in this circumstance here, with tragically with Damar Hamlin's severe injury, that people are, more capable of unity and love and compassion and gratitude and basic human empathy than we understand. And that's only due to God. So I don't want people to, you know, miss that aspect of it and act like this isn't God working through people. I mean, this one man, I'll try to Google the image. He had a sign that said "Pray for Damar Hamlin." He was a Cincinnati Bengals fan, and he had his child next to him. But it got me pretty choked up. I'll see if I can Google that sign. Um, but he had a sign obviously saying "Go Bengals," or maybe he just grabbed this. I don't know when he had the sign. Um, Let me see if I can Google this. because they showed it on the broadcast, and it was really heart touching to see a man, um, with his child next to him, pick up a piece of paper and sign. I don't know if I can be able to get it or not. Yeah, I'll have to look for that some other time. But yeah, if you guys watch the broadcast, you probably know what I'm talking about. Seeing the guy who just wrote "Pray for Damar Hamlin" on a sign. But yeah, everybody, this is time to pray for somebody else. Pray for this young man. He was, like I said, knocked out. They don't. I'm not an expert. I could read, what these articles are saying, but nobody really has the specifics yet. There's people that are medical professionals speculating on what they think occurred, but it's all honestly speculation at this point. The actual facts are just he needed CPR for near 9 minutes. Thankfully, it happened in a stadium where there's an ambulance and medical staff, right on the sideline. Because if this happened somewhere at a high school field and, he didn't have medical personnel available, who knows, what would happen in that situation. But regardless, he still left the field and we had no reports of him being conscious yet. So we don't know at all what's going to go on. If he's going to end up being brain injury or coma or, God forbid, lose his life. So please take a moment. If you have already done it during the game, thank you. If you haven't heard about it and this helps you hear about it, maybe take a moment if you can to pray for him. Just think about the fact his own mother was watching this happen and she has to take an ambulance ride with him. That he's a 24-year-old man that's just playing a game, a football game, and his life is right now in this situation. So yeah, I don't want to say the same thing for hours. I will say, I could go to obviously millions of verses here, but Jeremiah 17:7, blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is in the Lord. Now is the time for everybody to trust in the Father and Jesus and allow them to do their work. Because at this point, human beings can't do anything. It's God's time to decide, and no matter what God decides, it's the right decision. But it's also, like I said, something where we are humbled and we realize how much God is, you know, determining what we can, have as our fates and how much we shouldn't abandon God because when moments like these come, that's all that matters. So I hope this is a reminder to not just, everybody that's a Christian, but a person that's searching to think if they should, have faith in God or not. If you don't have faith in God, what do you have in these situations? You have nothing. You can't even call on God to help you or help someone you love. So not like anybody has an advantage because God doesn't show favoritism, but it's still important to realize God's a real thing and it's not a fictional character. God the Father, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are the living God. It's not idolatry. It's not myth. It's not Zeus. It's not Poseidon. It's not any of those idols. It's the true living God who can make miracles happen. And I just hope we keep Damar Hamlin, this young man, in our prayers. And I hope everybody also sees that human beings do want to love each other. Human beings do want to care about each other. And despite this being tragic, we also got to see the good side of human beings with only God being good. But we got to see a side of human beings that can give us all hope to know that, 60,000 people in the stadium and millions of people watching. If you look on social media, this isn't a situation where half the people are trolling and arguing, or half the people are on one side, or half the people are on the other. This is like almost universal agreement on prayers for this young man, prayers for his family, and just wishing for his recovery, and just a moment where we're all humbled and realize how fragile our own lives are also. So, I think that's another beautiful lesson of this. Despite the tragedy that's occurring with his own situation and his health, I see a bunch of human beings that can put priorities in order quickly. And to say that a football game that was the most important football game maybe of the season is irrelevant, and the only thing that matters is to step back and to pray for one human being's health. I mean, that's really a beautiful story. And maybe we're not as far from heaven as we think we are if we're capable of doing that as humans. It's just sad we can't do it more often. So, whatever it takes for human beings to start to get to that point where we can unify more often and have this type of, universal prayer for each other and empathy for each other, that's how we're going to get closer to God. So, I'm sorry my words here aren't perfect, but, right there, I felt like God instructed me to say something, that may have, been accurate. So I hope that we can take advantage of these tragedies and, just like I said, pray for his recovery, but also see that God's working in all our hearts and souls and spirits, even during the worst times. And, just maintain your faith and, continue to follow this story, but also remember when we talk about Jeremiah 31:33 and we say, is God's law written on our hearts? Are we in the new covenant? I think this is a time that demonstrates that we are. Hebrews 8 obviously will tell us we are, but this is a pretty clear incident that tells me that we all do have God's law in our hearts, because how else could 60,000 people and millions of people, 60,000 people in the stadium and millions of people watching all realize the same thing, that the only thing that matters is to pray for a young man. I wish I could find the picture of that guy who wrote on the sign, "Pray for Damar Hamlin." But yeah, Jeremiah 31:33 here. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So some people will say that we're not all, able to say that we have God's law written on our hearts, but I think in times like this, it proves it. Just like 9/11, as tragic as 9/11 was, we saw a country, a world unified, and it's kind but it doesn't take much for an immediate change to occur. So if we're looking for the immediate repentance and change that could occur, obviously when Jesus comes, it doesn't need to wait till then. We can find ways and moments to share, you know, share our resources, share our love, share our empathy. This is a great example of that. And it's terrible that it takes one person to suffer or, almost sacrifice their life in order for people to see this. But it's still at the same time, like I said, I don't know why I had this perspective, but it's just something that I did see in it. And, of course, my prayers for him and his family are more than anything what's important here. But I do also want to comment on the fact that as a believer, a Christian in God, I saw a lot of God's, work being done tonight. And I don't think we should ignore that. I think we should give credit to the Father and Jesus for being there and being in people's hearts. And you know, that's it. That's all. Don't think that we can't do this more often. Be aware human beings are capable of great things when we can see each other suffering and put ourselves in that situation and say, well, what if this was me? What if that was my mother on the sideline? So I don't know. I just want everybody to have a blessed night. Be safe. Give your prayers for Damar Hamlin if you haven't seen him before, and just realize that we're closer to God than we assume, and be blessed. But yeah, exactly, Ben Brady. And if you guys want to come by anytime and talk about the Bible or scriptures, that's what I do over here on this channel more times than not. So that's a side note. But more than anything, just pray for Damar Hamlin, and know God's closer to us than we assume, because He is. And it was obvious when 60,000 people and millions of people watching could all get on one accord within a moment. And we do live in a world where that is possible, despite how hard it is to believe it. Republicans, Democrats, all sorts of separation in this world, races, black, white, whatever. It's hard to say how are we going to come together, but unfortunately, a tragedy can do that, and that's the lesson. So, anyways, I hope everybody has a blessed night, and I hope Damar Hamlin has a speedy recovery, and tomorrow we can all take a sigh of relief and hear that the young man's recovering, and pray for his mother also and his family, and that's about it. And anybody else that's suffered tonight elsewhere in the world, let me include that too, because again, we don't want to ignore the fact that this situation is getting more attention than other situations. So, not to take anything away from this situation, but to just realize that other people died tonight. Other people suffer tonight too. Every day 150,000 people die around the world, and none of us really blink. But hopefully, we can pray for other people that lost their lives or suffered tonight too. But overall, pray for Damar Hamlin, and see the glory of God in the situation, and just move on and try to embrace how we feel tonight, and find moments like this where somebody doesn't have to get hurt and a tragedy doesn't have to occur. So maybe we can just unify when something good happens, and start loving each other in those moments too. But yeah, God bless everybody. I don't want to rant too long here. Take it easy.